The Soviet Gulag. It wasn't just a prison, it was a machine designed to grind a man's spirit into dust. Imagine a place where the cold isn't just in the air, in the bones, in the guard's eyes, in the very soul of the camp. I've faced extreme cold in the Arctic, but this was different. This was a man-made hell set in nature's freezer. Prisoners were sent there for anything and everything, a misplaced word, a political disagreement, sometimes for no reason at all. They were stripped of their names, given a number, forced into back-breaking labor, with barely enough food to keep a bird alive. The desire to escape wasn't just about wanting freedom, a primal scream for survival, a refusal to let the soul die before the body. Surrounded by hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers of the most unforgiving wilderness, the Taiga. A cruel paradox, wild, untamed liberty as their cage. Yet facing a guaranteed end inside, even an impossible gamble can start to look like survival. The plan wasn't born in a single moment of defiance. It was a seed, planted in the fertile ground of desperation, and watered by whispered conversations in the dead of night. It started with a man named Nikolai, a former hunter who knew the old ways of the forest. There was Dmitri, a young student whose body was weakening but whose mind was sharp as a flint knife. Alexei, a quiet giant of a man, a farmer whose strength was matched only by his stoicism. Every crust dried and hidden, every stray piece of string tucked away. Even scraps of metal were saved and debated. Nikolai scratched maps in the dirt, taught Dmitri to read the stars and the moss on the trees. They communicated with subtle glances and coded words. The night they chose was perfect, a new moon and a brewing storm to cover their tracks. The moment was electric with terror and exhilaration. One by one they slipped through a weak point in the fence, a sagging wire beside a deep snowdrift. They moved like ghosts into the tree line. The clanging of metal, the barking of dogs, the shouts of guards replaced by the immense silence of the taiga. Looking back is a luxury you can't afford. Your focus has to be 100% on the path ahead. They took their first steps into a 2,000-kilometer test of courage, strength, and will to live. This was the ultimate survival scenario. The decision to act was the first and most crucial step. The wilderness had accepted their challenge. The Siberian taiga possesses a beauty that is as savage as it is breathtaking. In summer, larches and pines rise into a majestic green canopy. The forest floor blooms with mosses, wildflowers, and berries. At dawn or dusk it can feel like a cathedral. But the taiga is a place of extremes. Rivers that look inviting are deceptively fast and bone-chillingly cold. One misstep can lead to hypothermia in minutes. Every crossing was a life-or-death mission, planned, then executed together. What seems solid can swallow you like a swamp. Undergrowth tears and disorients, hidden roots grab at every step. And then there are the insects, mosquitoes, black flies, and midges in biblical swarms. They get in your eyes, your nose, your mouth, leaving welts that itch and can become infected. It becomes a mental battle as much as a physical one. Out here, you are either the hunter or the hunted, and they were both. They imagined NKVD patrols, ruthless tracking dogs, even spotter planes, so they learned to leave no trace, ride the wind, think like the pursuers. At the same time they became hunters, snares for rabbits and squirrels, spearing fish in shallows. Huge paw prints in mud, the distant howl of wolves, terrifying reminders of larger predators. They showed no fear, made noise, and relied on fire at night to keep the beasts at bay. When snares were empty and fish wouldn't bite, they turned to foraging. The taiga can be a larder, if you know what you're looking for. The key is knowledge. Nikolai pointed out edibles. Dmitri memorized leaves, berry colors, and habitats. Raspberries, blueberries, cranberries, mushrooms tested cautiously. Wild onions and tubers roasted in embers. Fire meant warmth, food, security, and a massive psychological boost. With a smuggled flint, they struck steel onto tinder of moss and birch bark, until a single ember became life. They sought fast, clear tributaries, and when they could, they boiled water to keep sickness at bay. The greatest battle, though, was internal. Fear, doubt, despair, silent enemies that creep in at night. Dmitri's body, ravaged by labor and hunger, began to fail. He felt like a burden. Alexei's quiet strength and Nikolai's focus pulled him through. Shorter marches, shared rations, a reminder his mind mattered. Alexei masked grief and longing for family. Hope drove him forward. Fear cut just as deep. Nikolai bore the weight of every decision. One wrong call could doom them. He fought doubt by fixing on the next river, the next meal, the next safe camp. Leadership, teamwork, and a stubborn refusal to give up. This is how they beat the inner war. Survival became a rhythm. March, forage, fire, rest, repeat. Walking 2,000 kilometers across the Siberian taiga is almost beyond comprehension. They escaped in summer, walked through autumn's riot of color and pressed on as the first snows began to fall. Each step a testament to endurance fueled by the hope of freedom, survival instinct, the burning desire for freedom, the memory of barbed wire and cruelty behind them. They became a brotherhood, stronger together than alone. Patches of berries, a caught fish, a dry cave before a storm, each win refueled the spirit. Their horizon shrank to the next ridge, the next river, the next sunrise. Break the impossible into the next right step, that is how they walked the distance. After months, the dense taiga thinned to sparser woods, then small isolated farms. Distant village lights were a beacon, and a new source of danger. They moved with greater caution, traveling only at night. At last, a remote stretch of the Trans-Siberian Railway. Under cover of darkness, they boarded a freight train. The clatter of wheels, movement without walking, felt surreal. They arrived at a port city, finally able to blend into a crowd. Nikolai, Dmitry, Alexei. Their story is more than adventure, it is a testament to the indomitable human spirit. Even in the face of unimaginable cruelty and overwhelming odds, hope can survive. With courage, resourcefulness, and teamwork, the impossible becomes possible. Our bond with nature is primal. The ancient skills of survival are never obsolete. Freedom isn't just the absence of walls and fences, it is the ability to choose, to act, to fight for your own life, and to hold on to your humanity in the darkest times. They walked out as numbers, but emerged as men who had reclaimed their souls. Their 2,000-kilometer journey reminds us the will to live and the hope for tomorrow are our strongest tools. Never give up.